This is the Coming Home Podcast with John Allen.
Oh, let me take the lid off this so I don't. Okay. All right.
And welcome everybody to this episode of the Coming Home Podcast. It is Tifffy Tuesday yet again. This week we're on time.
Ish. Yeah,
ish.
On time.
We got the right day at least. We have the right day.
And we're within the same, few hours.
Yeah,
so that's good. We're good.
We'll take it.
We're good.
We'll take it. How you doing today?
I'm stressing.
Take a
John,
deep breath. Deep breath. Blow it out. Oh, did that help? No.
Woos. Right? I gotta take a deep breath. My anxiety is coming up right now. It's October. October for me is like hell month in like every year it is, because this is the time when I have the most demand on my artwork. Because Halloween's coming up and I do the pumpkin carving things and I also do the haunted house thing. We're having like this huge haunted house in my town of Portugal here. Yeah. We're having a massive one. And so we've been working on it since February, but I haven't had time to do everything that I need because I also have an exam due tomorrow.
Okay. So it's like a mad rush to get everything finished then.
Everything. And also I start getting lots of orders. Well, I don't say lots, but I do get a few orders for people who want paintings by Christmas. So now I'm taking that kind of artistic order. Okay. So yeah. So this October is like the worst time of year for me because I also get seasonal depression.
Now, seasonal depression, that is a thing. So people don't laugh that off. Don't blow that off. It is a thing, especially here in Norway. I tell you, when that sun disappears, and we're down south, okay, southeast. Yeah. Imagine what the people who live up north. It is, when I say it's dark, it's dark.
You lived up there, didn't you?
Yeah, but you know what? I guess I'm a little weird because I thought it was cool. I thought it was fascinating that it would be dark like that. And then you do get a certain it's a weird kind of light, the way the moon hits off. I was in a mountainous area, so it would hit the mountains with the white snow, and there would be this weird, eerie kind of light, which I thought was cool. But I did see that a lot of people suffered. A lot of people have some serious trouble with the seasonal depression.
But no, this doesn't happen to everybody. No. There's some of us that, I'm going to be like, real for a moment. Even though I seem like a chipper, fun gal, I do suffer with mental illness. I suffer with anxiety. I suffer with PTSD, and I suffer with seasonal depression. And then now that fall is coming, it's getting darker and darker every day, isn't it, John?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Noticeably so.
Noticeably so, to the point that, but we know that when we do that goddamn daylight saving time hot garbage that we do, and I think that's going to happen, in 2nd of November?
I do believe first week in November at least,
something like that. Yeah. And as soon as that happens, that's when the darkness comes. And it's not just the darkness, on our little part of the world, but it's also like in my heart, in my chest. And I feel this seasonal depression is like a serious issue in Norway.
It's a thing. And
it's a thing.
I think it was very good that you said you put a little light on this aspect of depression, anxiety, mental illness in general, that you said even though you appear to be happy-go-lucky and full of energy, you do suffer from depression and different kinds of mental illness. That's something that people need to realize, that and I've seen this happen with people before, when they finally get broken down so much that they actually have to cry out for help, and then people almost don't believe them.
Right. Because let me tell you something.
You don't look depressed. I've never seen you depressed. You don't act depressed. So then they
You are a ball of joy, and that's what really hit me when one of my most, because I did comedy too, and every comedian has their comedic hero, and my comedic hero was Robin Williams.
Oh yes.
I was so in love with Robin Williams, not, in the, put him up like a teeny bop poster thing, but I loved his comedic genius. I loved
he may have been the most brilliant mind ever in comedy.
He brought so much joy into my heart. Every movie I watched, yes. I mean, Mrs. Doubtfire, that's like probably one of my favorite movies with him in it, because he can be, but also Peter Pan, because he showed his tenderness in that movie. And Good Will Hunting, he showed his heart. He was so amazing. He was such a diamond of a person.
Yes.
And he ended up committing suicide because of depression. But who could have known?
Who would have known?
Who could have known? Who would have known? Right. But do you suffer with seasonal depression at all? I mean,
no, I don't. Like I said, when the dark times here in Norway come, I always find it slightly intriguing. There's something I like, the mystery of it, the otherness of it. I've lived here I've lived here a long time, but I've lived most of my life where we have regular, light and dark. So that it's so different here, I find that exciting. When I feel down and out, when I get depressed, if there's any anxiety issues, it's just there in general, and it doesn't get worse because of the fall or winter time.
All right, but let's say that when you do get down and depressed, because have you ever been depressed?
Absolutely. You could say I've been in a constant state of depression since my son died. Actually, a little bit before that, the road leading up to his death. And,
I can imagine.
Yeah. So leading up to it and ever since, I have been depressed. Like, not just I feel bad. No, I'm depressed. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But how does it manifest in you? How does the depression manifest in you?
It's manifested itself in a few different ways. One of the most noticeable things is it has affected my productivity with my writing.
Right. So you get like writer's block?
Not really writer's block, because I can sit down and write, but I would say maybe at least 80-85% of what I write, I throw out because it's too dark, it's too revealing. That's my writing in a nutshell. I'm throwing things out. I actually, in this thing that we're supposed to be doing, where I'm supposed to be sending you these MP3 voiceovers so that you can do the ghost writing. I've done a lot of them, and I haven't sent them because I'm talking about stuff that that's scary to share. So that it's manifesting.
Okay, do me a favor with those, because there is a certain pattern to writing a book. Those ones that you want to throw out, don't delete them. Just put them in a different folder, because that's something that you can go back to later when you're not in that space.
Better. I see.
Right.
That's a good piece of advice, and that's what I'll start to do, because so far I've just deleted them.
Because it's going to help you reflect on when you felt that way and why you felt that way. And when you know when and why, when you know your history, and when and why you did something, then you can change that in the future, John. So never throw them away. Just lock them up, but put them in a different folder.
Okay.
But make sure you have access to them again later. It's very important for healing.
I'll do that. That's a good piece of advice.
So that's to me. I'm talking about I'm talking like I'm Dr. Ruth and shit.
Oh, but I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you also how it manifests itself in you. Another way that it manifests itself with me is I have, to a certain degree, isolated myself.
Yeah. And that's not just because of the Rona that has visited us?
I think I use the Rona as an excuse.
You bitch.
So I will admit that here on the podcast that I have isolated myself, because it's just, you know how it is when you're feeling down, and if you were to hang out with your friends, if you were to, if I were to hang out with my musician friends, or if I were to go out and do some stand up, I know I would feel better. I know that.
Yeah.
But I can't do it. I just can't.
It's the motivation. It's the kickstart, the motivation to get the fuck up and do it.
Exactly.
You know? So I know I'd feel better, if I went outside and got some fresh air, but I'm like, but I have to get up and put clothes on.
Yeah, you know?
I have to put a bra on.
So this podcast, in a sense, is what has kept me going. It's put me in contact. You've been over here at the house 3 times, 4 times.
Yeah.
So it's kept me. It's opened up that social aspect that otherwise would be pretty much turned totally off. It's given me something to do. It's given me something to focus on. Like I said, I'm still writing, but I don't like what I'm writing. But maybe I shouldn't think like that. Like you said, I should just put it away and deal with it.
Put it away. Even if it's written in bad grammar or whatever, you can always go back. And look at it again and see that space that you were in, and then you can kind of begin to unwrap that and find out why you were in that space or what triggered that space or whatever. If you can actually sit there and have a little bit of insight in that space, then maybe you can change the future for it. I think anyway, and that's the way I'm trying to work through my bullshit.
And that's a very well thought out way of dealing with it. Absolutely. Yeah. But back at you now. What does it? How does depression manifest itself in you, or mental illness in general? How does it manifest itself?
Well, my seasonal depression manifests itself in anxiety. Yeah. It's like a comorbidity thing. So now I feel more stressed and more pressed to get things done, to strive for more excellence, because now I'm inside all the time, and now I have no excuse to not to get that work done. I'm really hard on myself. I'm very hard on myself. And so, like I said, I'm doing 6 classes this semester, and I'm really, really hoping to, get good grades and knock this thing out of the park, because I have dreams now. This is where I go. Yeah. I look because I can't. My therapist says it's kind of a part of disassociation. When you're in a bad situation or a bad place, which I find the darkness, how dark it is. That's why I get the seasonal depression. I don't get the sun. I'm like Superman. You know what I mean? I get my powers from the sunlight, just like Superman. And so when the sun goes away for an extended period of time, because I'm from Florida, I'm not used to all this darkness. No. I'm not used to all this fog. I'm not used to all this. Everything's closed because you can't go to the beach. There's fuck all to do. Now you're stuck inside. I get cabin fever. So what I do is then I just look at the tasks that I need to do, and I strive for excellence. And then if I don't get excellent, then the anxiety comes, I
see, because I was just going to ask you, where is the anxiety in that? Because I was thinking, isn't it a good thing? Isn't it a positive thing to focus on task? And in this case, it's tasks that you have talent with, and things like that.
Right, but I take on too much. That's what
there's the anxiety, because you put that pressure on yourself. Okay, I see.
Well, the anxiety is that I put everything off in the summer because, Superman or Supergirl, they did to make a Supergirl. So Supergirl needs her sunlight. So during the summer, I do boating, I do horseback riding. I'm outside in the sun to soak up every little inch, every little speck of sunlight I can in this goddamn godforsaken country that never gets sunlight for 7 months out of the year. So then in October, I just pack it all in.
I see.
But I'm still wanting to do really well.
That's a lot of pressure.
It's a lot of pressure.
Because not only do you have all of a sudden a lot of tasks, things to get done, but you also have this immense pressure on yourself to do them perfectly.
Right. Right. So that's where the seasonal depression becomes my anxiety. Right. And what do you do to ease the symptoms, though, John? Whenever you're feeling your depression, yours is not seasonal depression. Yours is just probably I'm not a doctor, but it's you have a reason why you have depression, but what do you do to ease it?
Most often I use my training, my powerlifting. That right there is therapy.
Okay.
That right there is therapy.
Is it the physical exertion that makes it better?
It's the physical exertion, but it's also for me, powerlifting is so much more than the physical. There's also a mental aspect to it because I have very concrete goals. Things that I want, a certain amount of weight I want to lift, a certain championship or a record that I'm going after. So there's a mental aspect to it as well. And I don't train like a meathead. I don't want to just go in there and get a pump and sweat. I want to go in there and I'm analyzing my technique. I'm analyzing, how does the weight feel? I'm visualizing, the future, being stronger and actually getting on that platform during a competition. So there's that mental side of it as well.
You disassociate.
I guess you could say that, doctor.
That's what you do. You disassociate. You put yourself in the light, right? So while you're in the gym or wherever you are working at now, I don't know what it is during this Corona times, but when you're doing your weightlifting and you're doing your training, you're focusing on that light, that future, that goal that you want to do. So you're not feeling that pain of lifting that weight. You just kind of focus somewhere else.
Well, I'm also very much in the moment. You have to be when you lift those kind of weights, when you're a power lifter lifting heavy weights like I do, you have to be in the moment. So it's I think it is a technique that and not just me, but probably a lot of other elite level powerlifters are able to do, where you're in the moment and you feel the pain, you feel the exertion, but you're also visualizing, you're also focused on a very concrete goal that will be coming in the future. So there's a duality of mental focus there.
Oh, of course. I mean, I'm not saying you disassociate to the point of craziness. I think that's a misconception.
I think so. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you can be somewhere else, and there's a duality to people. You can be somewhere else, but be there in the moment. At the same time, like for example, I'm working at a grocery store. I'm stocking shelves. I'm not going to drop all the jars of baby food while I'm daydreaming about something else. So you can be focused on what you're doing, but also daydreaming. Believe it or not, people have a duality.
Sure.
So that's what I meant by that. You do disassociate because you're not thinking about your problems. You're not thinking about what made you depressed. You are focused. You are somewhere else in a different plane of your thinking, of your goals and what you want to do. And you're thinking of the positive instead of the negative, but you're still focused on not dropping that goddamn thing on your foot.
Right.
You know what I mean? You can do that. Humans have that power.
Another way to give myself a little relief, a little therapy, so to speak, was to write stand up and also to do stand up sets. But because my shoulder is so doggone bad, it is actually a physical effort to stand, for 10, 15, 20 minutes and do a set.
Ooh. Yeah.
So I've really pulled back from doing stand up. Plus the Corona situation. I like I said, I admit I use Corona to a certain extent to isolate myself, but being out in a club with a whole bunch of people.
Well, let's be real. It's not like you're not doing a stadium. You're doing a club, which is most people do, and you are funny, so you're going to have people go, ha, ha, ha.
And it's tight, yeah.
In the Corona situation.
And it's very tight quarters.
Yeah. So I don't want to breathe that fucking air either. I'm down with you on that one. Walk away from the stand-up. So that's not, I mean, if you're using that as an excuse, that's fine. But it's a solid excuse, dude. I wouldn't want people cackling at me or heckling.
It's a little, it's a little nerve-wracking for me to think, and all my stand-up friends are telling me, stop being such a chump, go out and do it. There's just too many things stacked up against doing it. It's the Corona. It's my shoulder. It is my desire to isolate myself. So no stand-up.
You're not in the place to do stand-up right now, man.
Not now.
You have to be you have to be disassociated and be in a different place when you do that kind of shit too.
But when I come back,
disassociates. So it's quit putting a fucking stigma on that one. Yeah. Everybody does. Everybody daydreams. Everybody goes somewhere else when they're in a place that they don't want to be.
Sure.
Yeah, everybody has mental illness. Everybody.
To a certain extent, everyone has something that they're struggling with mentally.
Everybody's hurting, and that's why you should be fucking nice to everybody you meet, because literally everybody is struggling with something. I mean, mental illness, it's spread out so far and wide. There's different spectrums. There's different, genres.
I think that some of the
fucking be nice. Just fucking be nice.
I think that some of the most hateful people on social media, the trolls, some of the most hateful ones, are doing that out of fear.
Yes.
With Corona, with this, that, and the other, they are scared to death. They're afraid of the changes that they see. They don't know how to deal with it, so they're lashing out. That's mental illness, and that is how a lot of people are dealing with it, which is to lash out on others.
It is. Yeah, because mental illness, it spans so much from personality disorders to phobias. And you're right, fear. Fear makes people lash out. Fear makes any animal lash out. You ever try to corner of an angry possum? they go come at you, right? But, I've tried some solutions because, I didn't suffer with seasonal depression before I moved here to Norway because I come from Florida, no matter what time of year it is, we basically have between 10 and 12 hours of sunlight every day, and we get the 3 o'clock, our weather used to be by the time when I was growing up, 3 o'clock in the afternoon in the summertime, here comes a thunderstorm. So, but now here the weather is so unpredictable and it's so, I don't see the sun for months, and I'm used to seeing the sun every day.
That's a big change.
It's a huge change. So it does make me sick. When I look at myself in the mirror and I don't have a tan, because I'm used to a year-round tan, I can see the veins in my neck because I'm so pale, I'm not just Caucasian. I'm like transparent, and it makes me look sick to myself in the mirror because I look pale. So then I feel sick, and then I carry that with me throughout the winter. I don't know. Do any of your listeners suffer with things like these? I mean, just even small things of changes in their mental well-being, like whether you're on your period, when you're a woman, and it's not on your period, guys, by the way. It's the week before. So whenever we're getting all pissy and hormonal on you, no, we're not on our period. That's next
week,
the
coming week,
So that's the coming week, just so all you guys know that, because we're so fucking sick of that. Are you on your period? No, that's next week, motherfucker. Give me some chocolate or ice cream or get the fuck out of my way. Can I get an amen, ladies? Can I
Say amen. Say amen, ladies.
Hallelujah. Preach it. Hallelujah. Testify.
No, I think a lot of people out there are suffering. I think most people out there are suffering with some sort of mental illness, whether it's a temporary depression or a lasting depression, whether it's a phobia of some sort, whether it's anxiety that comes and goes.
What is rage problems? I mean, you don't know what people are suffering with. And so it's important to be kind to people. But I have tried to find some solutions for myself because, like I said, it was such a huge change for me that I've never had to deal with it. So I don't have any of these cures growing up. So I've reached out to some Norwegians, right? Yeah. Because, that's what the fuck I got around me. That's the only sources I got. So here's some sources that they tell me to cure this seasonal depression. Taking Trom.
Yes.
I don't know what is that in English?
Fish oil. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but they don't, these motherfuckers here, these Norwegian states, they're straight up mean, all of them. Okay. They didn't tell me that you can find Tron in a capsule.
Oh.
You know what I mean? So
they made you drink. They told you to drink it.
They made me drink that shit. Oh my God. They made me drink that shit. And when you take this stuff, you are burping up this fishy taste for like,
it does hang with you. The taste does hang with you.
It hangs with you for like 3 or 4 hours. Yeah. It hangs straight with you. And I'm burping this shit up, hacking and coughing. It's awful. So that shit is out for me. I'm not taking no more Trom. So then the other one is frisch Luft. You know that
fresh
thing,
air,
right?
yeah,
fresh air. Go out, get your fresh air, and go take a walk in the forest. So I do that, but I have fall allergies, so that helped me. Not even, you know what I mean?
Terrible.
Not even. That was I was out there sneezing, and when you're my age and have had children, you know, sometimes you pee your pants a little bit. So then now I'm wet and cold. Okay, walking in this forest, I get lost in the forest with pee pants. That's not helping my anxiety. At all. Oh, okay. And not only that, but it's cold in November, right?
It is cold in November in Norway. Absolutely.
And then it starts raining. So now you're lost in the forest in that cold November rain, right? So then you're lost. So that didn't help. And then what was the last one? Then they tell me to go get one of those UV lights, right? Yeah,
you know, a lot of people have recommended that. We had one for a while, but and again, I don't feel that I suffer from the seasonal depression, you know, in the fall and winter here. But we did have one of those, and I didn't notice any difference at all.
You know what? I didn't either. And so this is what I did though. And then this is my solution for myself. Everybody's different. So I bought one of those UV lights, and they say to hang these little like happy lamps or whatever over your head while you're doing homework, which I've been doing. That's all I've been doing, sitting at my desk, you know, trying to crank out this exam. I put it, you know, I had put it under my head when I was doing the studying for it. And I'm like, this ain't doing fuck all for me. It straight up did. It didn't do shit for me. But what I did was I went out to my local botanist, you know, or whatever, those flower shops or whatever, the plant shops. Yeah. And I went and bought some tomato plant seeds and some, because I love tomatoes, cherry tomatoes. Oh my God, they're so delicious, right? Because the tomatoes here in this country, when you buy them from the store, they are tasteless.
I have found that because Snoop does makes plants our own tomatoes. The ones that we have here are so much tastier.
Right. Yes. So I wanted to plant my own too, because the one in here, they're garbage. So I got some little cherry tomatoes, and then I went and bought I think they're called chives in English. Gräslik. Chives.
Is it chives?
Chives, the little onions that look like grass.
Yeah.
God, we've been living here too long, bro. Okay. We've been living here too long. But then I bought those because I love those are delicious.
They are. We have that too. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I found that growing plants with those grow lights, the UV lights in my house, to have the I guess you get more oxygen in the house.
That's what they say.
The leaves of the plants. Yeah. So having live plants in my house, that's been helping me amazingly.
Now, we had a bunch of plants. We always have a bunch of plants all summer long, and we have some indoors. But now, with the colder weather, Snoop has brought most of them in. She'll probably this week bring all of them in. So our house is about to be like a jungle. And, you know, and again, I don't notice any difference. Because I don't feel like I'm more down in the
because
fall.
You don't suffer from it.
Exactly.
Because, so why would the cure be any help for you? Yeah.
But I can see where it would be, because the plants will bring more oxygen. They will clean the oxygen more inside. So I can see where it would help. Yeah.
Yeah, because I live in what the Norwegians call a hybel, and so that's like a basement apartment, under in some rocks. So it's constantly cold down there. I get no sunlight, no year of the time, because the windows are so small, that kind of thing. So it's really helped to have some greenery. But Absolutely. I do want to ask your listeners, what do they do for seasonal depression if they live in an area where it gets dark in the winter? Or, some people probably get seasonal depression if it's too fucking hot, where they're living. What do you do to make it better on you? Have you found a solution? Have you found a natural solution, or do you have to get drugged? I mean, what's up? But
tell us, people. Tell us what you guys do. Get on that YouTube page, get in the comments section, and tell us what's going on. What do you know? What do you do? What have you experienced yourself? Get in on the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, and do you suffer or do you not? And when does depression come for you, or anxiety, or what is it that you suffer with yourself that you don't think people quite understand? What's the taboo on your mental illness? Because literally everybody suffers from something.
I think anxiety is a big thing. Social anxiety. There are very many people who aren't necessarily depressed, but because of their anxiety, they isolate themselves. And then because of the isolation, then the depression comes.
Right.
That's social anxiety that, they don't want to be around the crowds. They just don't want to be seen.
That's that comorbidity too, because everybody's got a little bit of that. Some people start with a phobia, and that phobia makes them isolate themselves. And because now they're isolated, now they're depressed, and it just kind of snowballs one after the other. So if you don't get help for what you're suffering with now, look inside yourself. Take a minute. During this Corona times, a lot of you guys are just sitting at home doing nothing anyway, probably jerking off 3 times a day or whatever it is that you do. But take a minute to, when you're in a space, to close your eyes, look deep in yourself, and be honest with yourself and say, what am I suffering with these days? Because right now, during the Rona times, during this whole Trump crisis, even if you're not American, everybody's watching this. Everybody's watching it. I'm trying not to be too political on Tifffy Tuesdays, but let's be real. This is adding to my anxiety too. I just the other day, Trump is decided to, with his Rona, hop into a car with Secret Servicemen, which those are hermetically sealed, right?
Yes,
those cars,
it's like sitting in a tin can. Yep.
Sitting in a tin can, because in case of gas attacks, right? Yep. So, and breathing the same air as his Secret Servicemen, he doesn't give a fuck. So, of course, that triggers my PTSD of, narcissistic abuse and all this stuff. Yep. Everybody's feeling something right now. Everybody. So what are you feeling? Tell us what you're feeling right now. Even if you don't have a diagnosis or anything, tell us what you're feeling. Let's talk about it. What is this world doing to you right now? It's October. It's getting dark.
And that's a big subject. That can be a big subject. How much mental illness, how much depression, anxiety, and PTSD or what have you is undiagnosed? How many people out there they don't really know why they feel the way they feel because they've never spoken to a doctor about it? I think there's a lot of mental illness out there, a lot of depression that is undiagnosed and untreated.
Well, this is why I remember listening to a previous podcast that you had with Lexi and who are those girls? Lexi
and Altair and oh my gosh, I forgot her name.
I'm quizzing you. Anyway, but you had these 3 brilliant, brave women came on your show, and they talked about having narcissistic abuse by the same man. And when I was listening to them, I'm like, God, it felt like I had been dating the same man that they had dated before, because I'm like, I recognized everything. I felt it. I felt their pain. But the problem is with narcissists, we don't have a proper count of how many people are narcissists, because all narcissists think they are perfect, so they never seek help.
Exactly.
So you're right. So there's so much undiagnosed
I think
shit
there's
out there.
a lot of it. But that's not to say that if you can recognize that you are depressed or that you have anxiety, that doesn't mean that you have to run to a doctor, because some people, that's just not their thing, to talk with a therapist or whatever. But at least if you recognize it and if you try to do something to fix it,
reach out to somebody. You don't have to reach out. Reach out to a friend, a trusted family member.
Yes.
And just go and you don't have to open everything up at once.
No.
But just kind of hint to them, like, have you ever felt this way? Have you ever had that, Mom? Have you ever had that not so fresh feeling? You know what I mean? Do you remember that commercial? Right?
Yes, I do.
Right. So kind of hint about that, and that's a great opener.
It will do a lot just to voice your struggle to someone close to you.
It does.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't even have to be somebody close to you. I mean, I have a girlfriend who literally, like, when she's having a bad day, she just fucking vents on social media, just blows the fuck up. And then the next, growing up. And the next morning, she deletes everything, and then immediately I just needed that. Thank you for anybody that posted anything. And she deletes all the shit. She knows.
I have a Facebook friend who does that. He is almost on a constant tirade. It's very funny. It's not mean-spirited at all, but it's funny, and he's venting constantly. And he'll do that for maybe a month or two, and then all of a sudden his account disappears for a month or two.
That's what she does too.
And then a month or two he'll come back, and it's like, oh, there he is again. Yep, friend. And it's a cycle that goes. And I get it. I totally get it.
I get it too.
He says whatever the heck he wants. There's no filter. He gets it all out there, and then I don't know what it is that makes him delete it, but. He deletes it after a couple of months.
You know what it is? It's the same way. What we used to back in the 1900s. It's the same thing of whenever I used to write the fucking mean ass letters to that fucking bitch, stupid fucking cunt and whatever. And I write that letter and I put it in an envelope and I go outside and burn it.
Okay.
Because I got my feelings out, and that's what it is. It's just like an emotional vomit.
It's a soul cleansing. It's
It's cathartic.
Yeah.
It's cathartic. Yeah. And I know when I used to work in a restaurant, whenever customers were super mean to me, we would go into the walk-in freezer and just cuss because it was soundproof, right?
Yeah.
Just holler. Right? And then you just get it all out and then go back and say, can I get you a refill, sir? Yeah. So you have to get it out. You have to get out. Talk to somebody. If you're feeling anything right now, and if you're not feeling something in these times, that you also need to reach out, because maybe that might be a problem, that you have no emotion.
They're talking about how there's been a rise in suicides back home in the States because of different aspects of Corona, joblessness, people are more isolated, what have you. And that's a scary, scary development. And again, not to make this into a political episode, but it scares the daylights out of me to see that president wants to yank away the Affordable Care Act.
Right. But meanwhile, this man who's only paid $1,500 in taxes in the past 15 years, he is getting socialized medicine.
Isn't that something?
He's getting and he's getting the best care. And not only that, but Chris Christie gets to go to a hospital for precautions. Your people can't see me putting them quotes in the air for precautions, but regular people like you and me cannot get in the hospital unless we are showing serious symptoms. So he wants to get rid of our Affordable Care Act for the rest of us while he's getting the socialized medicine.
It's one of the most disgusting things that is hanging in the air right now. The fact that he could take away health care for all these people, and he claims they're going to be protected by this magnificent plan that he's coming with, but we haven't seen it. So I fear for anyone out there, not just for your basic medical reasons, but for reasons of mental health.
Right.
It's scary. It's scary.
It's scary, and not only that, but and to throw back to that podcast with Lexi and all them, is that anybody who has dealt with a narcissistic relationship has been triggered for the past 4 years, because that's what this man is. So I think there's a lot of anxiety going on in the world right now. And so I urge people to come on the YouTube page. Do you have a link for that? You're going to put that in?
It will be, when I post this episode on Facebook, the link will be there, but people can just hashtag the Comin Home Podcast with John Allen, or they can hashtag Tifffy Tuesday, and it'll come right to our episodes on YouTube.
All right, and I urge everybody, to like and subscribe, because we have, even though Tifffy Tuesday sometimes is just a Tiffy tirade and coming out here and cussing. Sometimes Tiffy gets serious about things, and I do want to help everybody, because I've been through it. I've got all kinds of fucking issues. I mean, just ask my man. God bless his soul for dealing with my ass for these past years. But to comment. Yes. Let's talk, and maybe I can can help you. I mean, maybe I've been through what you've been through. I want to lift people up. I want to make this last sprint to the end of the election better for everybody, and to the end of even just to the next spring. If you're suffering from social anxiety, we got some months, and we can get through this together. Just
wouldn't that be great?
Comment.
Wouldn't that be great if people came onto the YouTube channel under this episode and share their thoughts and feelings and maybe share their experiences with anxiety or depression, and then it's an ongoing conversation all fall, all winter, and all the way until next spring.
All that,
one long thread on this one episode. Just go on YouTube, hashtag Tifffy Tuesday. That'll bring you to the Coming Home podcast with John Allen. That will bring you to all of the Tifffy Tuesday episodes, which are there on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. Come on and do it, people. Let's have a good conversation and help each other.
Let's talk, and I promise to answer every single comment. I mean, let's talk, because I want to help everybody through this, because I'm going through it. You know what I mean? Let's lift each other up. And
that's the number one purpose of this podcast is first of all to help me. It's therapeutic for me, but I also want to share that help with anyone else. I want every one of my episodes, whether it's Tifffy Tuesday or with another guest or if it's me solo, I want there to be something left on the table after that episode that other people can take up and use to help themselves. So this episode right here falls right in line with the main goal of my podcast, which is to put something out there to help people.
Yeah, I appreciate what you do, John.
Thank you. I'm trying to leave a footprint. Yeah.
You do. You got to make people's day better, man. Even if you're suffering, even if you are having a bad day, you got to remember everybody else is too. So just fucking be nice. That's the moral of this.
It really is podcast. That simple, It really is.
Just fucking be nice, and put yourself in somebody else's shoes. Even if they're mean to you, you knock them the fuck out. I mean, don't let them hurt you, but then think about why they got there.
Yeah, everybody has a story. Everybody has a story.
Yeah. I appreciate you talking to me today, John.
I appreciate you talking to me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We did it on the right day, a little bit late on the clock, but we did it on the right day. So this was a successful podcast.
Oh, it is successful. Old lady woke up on time today.
So thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode of Tifffy Tuesday on the Coming Home podcast with John Allen. Thanks, Tiffy.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you and good